constituency, Bungoma County, and filed the following report.
It is a journey that it takes about an hour to reach this village in Mount Elgon constituency. Here we meet Aunt Cherotich, not her real name. She is just one of the girls who found themselves in the trap of early pregnancies. She narrates to us how she found herself in her predicament.
Marafiki zako wanakuambia they have someone who sponsored them, wanasponsor, wanawapa kila kitu wanataka. Kikanipelekea kuwa kwa mahusiano na kijana fulani aliyenipachika ujauzito.
In this village not more than 1 kilometer away, let's call her Sandrine Simiyu. Sandrine had to stop her studies when she was in Form 2. The reason, early pregnancy.
Wakati nilipata mimba sikurudi shule, juu nilikuwa na ile uoga. Sasa nikaona ni kama watu wenzangu watanichekelea.
These girls are just among more than 60,000 girls reported in Bungoma County for the past 4 years. David Lupao is the chairman of Bungoma County Children's Rights Network.
Tumepata watoto kama Bungoma County peke yake site ya 60 wamepachikwa mimba. Na pia tumefuatiwa kwa karibu sana na Kakamega, na tuko na Kakamega hapa nyuma ya Nairobi. Alafu pia Busia wako karibu namba 20. Sasa kuonekana kwamba hapa Western hiyo mambo ya teenage pregnancy imeenda juu sana.
Even though they are motivated to return to their studies, stigma and neglect in society have become barriers to returning to school.
Ongeza kutembea na wenzako ambao mlikuwa mnasoma shule moja. Kila mzazi angependa mtoto wake atembee na mtoto ambaye amepata ujauzito akiwa shuleni.
Wazazi wakaniambia kama kuna kitu naweza fanya ama wanifungulie mahali nini nikae nikitafuta vile naweza lea huyo mtoto juu baba yake ananisupport hivyo.
This is happening when defenders of children's rights in the Western region, with the help of the FAWE organization, having taken on the responsibility of mobilizing men as one of the ways to deal with this trait. Laura Dores is FAWE coordinator in Western Kenya.
Wale ambao waliweza kurudi shuleni iko bado chini. Ndio maana tukasema wacha tushirikiane pamoja na wanaume. Manake ukiangalia katika society ambayo tunatoka, wanaume ndio wanakuwa na ile final say.
However, apart from poverty, retrogressive culture have been mentioned as one of the causes of early pregnancies among the communities in Bungoma County.
Tama bado wanakubali practices mbaya kama mtoto kuelewa kama bado ni mdogo, yani child marriages. Alafu pia kuna sehemu zingine kuna ukeketaji, hizo female circumcisions.
Wanji Sostin, TV47, Bungoma.
Now, the Ministry of Health has warned the residents of Kambembe area of Rironi, Kiambu County, who ambushed and stole from an overturned lorry that was carrying a toxic chemical, to return what they stole due to its dangerous components. Now, report states that some residents have started to return the toxic chemical, which is harmful to the human health. Charles Kariuki, location chief Rironi, pleaded with the residents to return the chemical, stating that the government has started educating the residents on its dangers.
Jana mwendo wa saa 7 hivi kuna truck ama trailer imeanguka katika area imejulikana kama Kabebe, na hiyo trailer ilikuwa imebeba chemical ambayo imejulikana kama sodium cyanide, ambayo ni chemical hatari sana katika ulimwengu. Ombi langu ama my appeal to the community ni ya kwamba kama kuna mtu mmoja alibeba hiyo container ama hiyo chemical, arudisha haraka iwezekanavyo. Hiyo chemical ni hatari, yanaleta madhara hata na kifo. Kwa hivyo watu wetu, nawaomba na nitaendelea kuwaomba, hakuna haja lori ianguke ama accident happen na mtu akibiria kupora mali na labda hajui ni nini. Hata kupora baada ya kusaidia wale wa majeruhi, kwa nini watu wetu wanakibia kupora mali?
Meru Senator Kathuri Murungi, who is also the Deputy Speaker at the Senate, has told off UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala for interference with the Meru politics. This comes a day after the SG allegedly wrote a letter to Meru County Administrator Zipporah Kinya to withdraw the impeachment motion against Governor Kawira Mwangaza with immediate effect for the interest of party's cohesion and stability.
Naona barua ikizunguka kwa mitandao ikiwa imeandikwa na katibu mkuu wa chama chetu cha UDA Bwana Cleophas Malala, na hii barua ni ya kumwambia yule MC wetu nominated na UDA anaitwa Zipporah Kinya asiwashirishe ama achane na mswada ambao amepeleka katika assembly ya Meru. Kulingana na katiba ya Kenya, assembly zote zetu ama bunge zetu zote za ugatuzi 47 ziko na huru kabisa kutekeleza majibu yao, na hakuna hata mtu mmoja anapaswa kuwa yeye ndiye ana control ama anadhibiti bila watafanya kazi yao. I don't think uko na interest ya chama cha UDA katika roho yako, mahali ulitoka au kuwa UDA na vile uliingia UDA after elections. Sisi tumeumia sana tukipigania mambo ya chama yetu ya UDA na kuunda hii chama, lakini wewe mahali uliingilia kwa mlango ya nyuma bado unasumbua na hiyo kiti yako. Sioni kama wewe unapaswa kukaa kwa hiyo kiti yako kwa Secretary General wa UDA. Hiyo kiti lazima ipewe yule mtu ambaye ameumia, yule alianzisha chama na anaelewa umuhimu wa UDA ni kusema namna gani.
Now, Romania boasts of having the world's heaviest administrative building. The Guinness World Record Books also confirms the Palace of the Parliament as the largest administrative building in the universe for civil use, also known as the People's Palace. The 300 billion Kenyan shillings iconic structure is located in the central part of the capital, Bucharest. Our reporter Tony Kwalanda is in Eastern Europe and tells us why the communist ruler Nicolae Ceausescu put the country in financial debt to satisfy his desires.
It's an iconic public building with numerous secrets and just enough information available for every Tom, Dick and Harry to purchase this particular building. TV47 set up camp in Bucharest to find out why Palace of the Parliament bears the title of the world's heaviest administrative building. After a devastating earthquake on March 4th, 1977, Romania's communist ruler at the time, Nicolae Ceausescu, took advantage of the destruction to rebuild the city as he wished. Afraid of another quake and the need of a fortress in case of a nuclear bomb attack, the communist leader initiated the plan to build the world's most expensive administrative building. Ceausescu took a foreign loan of over 300 billion Kenya shillings before demolishing historical sites, churches, temples, a monastery, factories, hospitals, a stadium, and eviction of 60,000 families to pave way for this gigantic structure. Construction began in the early 80s with 700 architects led by a young, beautiful lady, Ansa Petrescu, setting out to work. It was a 10-year grueling journey for the over 100,000 workers with shifts of 20,000 people who toiled and moiled for 24 hours, 7 days a week. 12,000 soldiers were also deployed during a period with high economic hardship.
Ceausescu had only about 4 classes of education and he didn't study that much. He couldn't actually understand the plans of the architects. Everything about this entire project was represented by a small-size model.
It was erected with construction materials produced in Romania, including 1 million cubic meters of marble, 500,000 tons of cement, over 500,000 tons of steel, 2 million tons of sand, 1 million cubic meters of wood, 4,000 tons of crystal and 200,000 cubic meters of glass. The only foreign components of the palace were the Swedish ventilation systems. This resulted in a building 240 meters long, 270 meters wide, 100 meters high with 12 floors, and 100 meters deep with over 8 underground floors. There is little information about the bunkers in the building, 2 to be precise. If they locked this house and no one gets out and no one gets in, the ones who are inside can live in this particular building for very long period of time. The third largest building in the world by its volume houses the Romanian Parliament, or the Chamber of Deputies, the Senate, the Legislative Council, and the Constitutional Court of Romania. The former US President Donald Trump wanted to buy this property. And of course, the former president had all this money that he needed. However, Romania refused. Now, at this one juncture, I have come to believe that money cannot buy happiness, because Donald Trump wanted to buy happiness, but there was no happiness because his money could not deliver this property to him. It has over 1,500 rooms, over 30 ballrooms, over 50 elevators, restaurants, libraries, convenience stores, concert rooms, and over 20 kilometers of tunnels.
This building also becomes the heaviest building in the world, and because of this reason, it sinks into the ground with half a centimeter every single year.
Top celebrities like Michael Jackson and Shakira have performed in this building. Besides, several movies have been filmed here. A part of the underground space can be used as a Formula One circuit track with a parking capacity of over 20,000 cars. It's a safe house for security agencies such as Interpol, FBI, CIA, and MI6, ostensibly because it can arguably withstand 2 atomic bombs launched at the same time. Demolition of this building was on the cards after the execution of Ceausescu on Christmas Day in 1989. However, it was cheaper to complete the construction than to flatten it. The People's Palace, the People's House, or Parliament Palace, is a physical reminder of one of the most important stages in the history of Bucharest. Tony Kwalanda, TV47, Bucharest, Romania.
How we got to have Romanian silk in our country. It was a huge industry back then regarding the... In the same time...
Sports News brought to you.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally, the big day. Time to move in and create memories. Join us on the journey to making homes a reality on The Realtor, Tuesdays 6:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to...
All right, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You are watching TV47 Weekend Edition. It is time to the point. And tonight, like I had mentioned earlier, we are talking about a very crucial topic, that is media freedom, following brute force directed towards the media during Gen Z protest. Let's see where this conversation will take us tonight in terms of just looking at options that are available for the media to really just see if this media freedom can be upheld. Our guests are already in studio tonight. We have Winnie Kamau, just right here, President Association of Freelance Journalists. We have Wasonga Joseph, constitutional lawyer, and on Skype we have Akelo Odenyo, that is the Secretary General for the Crime Journalists Association of Kenya. Karibuni sana to studio tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
now,
me.
just to tell our viewers, or just to get the real meaning of media freedom, just right there as you can see on your screen. There's, according to UNESCO and the Media Council of Kenya, is the right and ability of the media to operate independently and without undue interference from the government, corporate interests, or other external pressures. Now, this encompasses the freedom to gather, publish, and distribute information and opinions without censorship, restriction, or fear of retaliation. Now, from that description by the Media Council of Kenya and UNESCO, let's just get the key aspects of media freedom. We have freedom of expression, that is the rights of journalists and media organizations to express opinions and share information without censorship or restrictions. We have a freedom from interference, that means the ability to operate without undue influence or pressure from the government, corporations, or other powerful entities. We have access to information, that is the right to access and disseminate information freely, including information held by public authorities. And we have safety and security, that is protection of journalists and media workers from harassment, threats, and physical harm. And finally, we have legal protections, that is laws and regulations that uphold and protect media freedom, including the right to confidentiality of sources. Now, Winnie, just to bring my guests into this discussion, we have expounded on what media freedom really means and what it entails. Just to start us off, do you think that the media, how is the media freedom, especially now for you as a freelance journalist, as the president, how is it like for you, current state of media freedom?
Thanks, for inviting us. I want to say that the current state is very unstable. It's not what we have been having. It's been going down, it's been deteriorating over the years. And we see this through the way media is handled. And we see through the lens of the way the media personalities are handled. And this has really affected how we operate. We know that the media is shrinking, the space is shrinking, and everything is going down. But the way we are being treated right now, it's not good. It doesn't look good at all. And I'd like to say, like you mentioned what you just stated right now about the media expressions, the freedom of media and everything, all this is also anchored in the Constitution of Kenya 2010, right, from Articles 33, 34, 35, and that is our basis and that is our anchor. Yeah.
Right, we will be talking about what the Constitution says on media freedom later on. But Wasonga, Joseph, thank you so much for being here, first of all, as a constitutional lawyer, to just help us really understand where the reins are beating us from and when did they start. Now, recently, we've seen journalists receiving threats, media houses being threatened. We have Catherine Wanjeri, who was just shot the other day in Nakuru. We have Collins Olunga, who was shot as well on his hand. We have also Seth Olale, we have Stephen Leto. These are just people who have been caught in on this crossfire and during this Gen Z protest. What do you say about that now in terms of upholding the freedom of media?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me over. I think that we need to distill this conversation about the protection of people's physical safety to a very basic one where everyone is entitled to some form of safety as a citizen of this republic. You see? And it's pretty unfortunate what we've been seeing. Well, it's pretty unfortunate. There's nothing else to say about it. However, possibly throwing a spanner into the works, I wouldn't say that the media space is shrinking per se. I just say that it's evolving. Because the sort of free speech that we're having right now is something that did not exist in years past. Well, to answer your question specifically, I think constitutionally, it's a serious violation. Safety of the human person is non-negotiable, you see. But even more importantly, I feel like it is upon me, I feel the onus to actually talk to all of us about the specific laws which are violated when this happens. So I feel like we should, as a nation, start having conversations around the force standing orders. We should start having conversations around the IPOA Act. We should start having conversations around the National Police Service Act. And we should also start looking at these specific units which are tasked with dealing with aberrant police activity, such as the Internal Affairs Unit. So I feel like conversations around those structures will guide us to actually have more informed conversations on what to do, where to put the band-aids, where to throw out the baby, where not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yes.
All right, Kelvin, can we please have what the Constitution says about media freedom on the screen? Now, just before we get that, the state shall not, what the Constitution says, the state shall not exercise control of or interfere with any person engaged in broadcasting, production or circulation of any publication or dissemination of information by any medium. This is just summary. And also the state shall not penalize any person for any opinion or view or the content of any broadcast, publication or dissemination. We have all state-owned media shall be free to determine independently the editorial content of their broadcast or other communications. Just to hold it right there before we, of course, speak Akelo Odenyo on Skype, Winnie, do you think that we are now independently given, able to formulate our editorial content in this day and age?
In this day and age, the legacy media is still under capture. And I say this because recently I was doing an investigative piece and looking at how the freedom of media and how media houses handle investigative journalism. And I have seen like it's a reality for us. Media is under full capture because of what we are facing currently. And I like what Wakili just said, like we are evolving. And the world, yes, is evolving because media now is being decentralized. We have social media and we have other many outlets that are coming up for independent journalists to be able to take their work there if the legacy media is not able to absorb what is being done. So, and from that investigative piece, I can surely say that because of the constraints that newsrooms are facing right now, in terms of sustainability, in terms of finances, and just being able to match up with the current like you said, just exploring the different channels, then it makes it harder for the newsrooms to be able to be independent as they would want to. Because you look like a company wants to advertise with, to bring an advert to, say, our newsroom right here. And yet we are doing an investigative piece against them. What does that say? Do we look at the person who is paying our bills or do we go for the investigative piece? Do we break the story? So that is something that is capturing us. And then the media capture is coming in different ways. It's so soft, you will not feel like, it's not like hard, yes, we're capturing it. It's just soft. It's a soft landing. Before you know it, you're gone. And we're seeing it even now, newsrooms being raided by the government, because now they see you're very exposed journalist, and what do they do? And they know that you're very good in your work. And what do? They come and raid you and take you to become their comms person. What does that mean?
Oh, yes.
All right. Just hold it right there. You have very, very great questions right there, Winnie. But let's just get Akelo Odenyo on board at this particular point. Akelo, the question that I posed to Winnie is what I will pose to you now. Do you think that we are being given the independence of our editorial policies in this day and age?
Sorry, could you repeat? I didn't get everything you said.
Akelo? All right, we will be picking Akelo again, but let's just get you, Wasonga. I saw you nodding when Winnie was asking very great questions right there. What do you think?
Okay, this is what I think. I think that this movement, what we're in the midst of right now, is very timely. However, I feel the need for us to evolve, just like the media space. I feel the need for us to evolve how we look at this country's governance. You see, for instance, now, unfortunately, a journalist got shot most recently in Nakuru. You see? So I feel that the media should be at the forefront of dealing with such behavior. How? You see, now that begs the question, how?
How, yes.
You see, and it's very easy because there's a document I'd really like us to really pay attention to, you especially as the fourth estate, the force standing orders. These rules in there, they're named after chapters. This is the constitution of the police. This is how they operate, you see. And you look at chapters, say, 25, you look at chapters, say, 35. These specific elements speak to the discipline of officers while at work. These specific chapters speak to the responsibility, like who the buck stops at, you see. And it's quite clear. It says that the buck stops, the responsibility for any act committed by an officer stops at the feet of the most senior officer in command there. You see, now this is publicly available information. So at the time when the dear people, actually, I won't speak to one person, got injured as a result of errant police behavior, then instantly the fourth estate should be aware of who is in charge of that area, and that person bears the legal responsibility.
Should we really get to that level, that point where someone has to be shot so that we can now get into a place where we see who is now to be blamed?
I feel that it's necessary, because in this instance we find ourselves with the cart before the horse. You see, generally it's the horse before the cart, that there are regulations that they're followed. But then here we are in a situation where we have a cart and it's in front of a horse. And so I feel it is incumbent upon the fourth estate right now to use this opportunity, because this is an opportunity. How Floyd was an opportunity. This is an opportunity for the fourth estate to bring to the forefront the force standing orders, to bring to the forefront the role of IPOA in looking at police behavior, to bring to the forefront the internal affairs unit's role in looking at police behavior. And in all of this, identifying the role that the media and or any average citizen can play in hastening these prosecutive processes, so that at least now, based off of these initial unfortunate circumstance, then we have a template on how to, say, deal with these issues in case they happen in the future.
But I'm even wondering, like let's take an example of Macharia Gaito.
Right.
I mean, how do you even comprehend that somebody comes in and says, oh, it's mistaken identity. Oops, I'm sorry. We didn't want to catch you. We wanted to catch this guy. How does that even play? I mean, it makes the police and even the whole government look like they are just a bunch of people who are not understanding what they're doing. Because I failed to understand, and that made me think about independent journalists. MG, the senior, Macharia Gaito, he's an independent journalist, and he's been working as an opinion piece writer, and he's been serving this nation for a long time through his work of writing, which has been very thought-provoking and very unsettling at some point. And it has given us strength, even for us who are freelancers, to be able to know that, hey, you don't have to be in the newsroom alone to be able to sell your work or to be able to continue doing what you love doing. Right. So you can still continue doing it. But where the government comes in and says, oops, it's a mistaken identity, how do you now start? Where do you start?
Okay, it's easy to see where they start. Their actions. You know, their actions. Now, for instance, in that specific instance, the level of force that was used was disproportionate. So that's where we start. You see, the lack of identification was a problem. So that's where we start. You see? You say actions. What exact actions should we be taking? But just hold. Are we going to sue? The Bible says we shall know them. Take at this point. But when we come back, we are asking that question: what exact action should be taken, Wasonga? Exactly. After this break.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You are watching TV47 Weekend Edition. Our conversation tonight is on media freedom, and our guest, Winnie Kamau, is in studio. That is the President, Association of Freelance Journalists. And Wasonga Joseph is also in studio. That is a constitutional lawyer. We are still trying to get Akelo Odenyo on board. That is the Secretary General for the Crime Journalists Association of Kenya. Now, before we went on that very short break, the conversation right here was very heated, and we were asking you, Wasonga, what are these exact actions that you mentioned that should be taken in ensuring that journalists are protected when covering political sensitive pieces?
Well, from the word go, it must be said that journalists deserve protection. It's not a privilege, it's a right. Now, having said that, and having been now in a situation where you see journalists being specifically targeted for what they do, there are initial measures of recourse that we need to exhaust first, you see. So, for instance, there's the Internal Affairs Unit. Now, by law, they can either move to investigate a matter on their own motion, or from a report by a citizen of the country. Well, I stand corrected, but I could and I dare say that possibly that has not happened. The same applies to IPOA. So I feel that this, even though we need solutions now, I think what has failed this country to this point has been that we have had structures, but then we have not used those structures. I feel that now is the time. Now is the time to start engaging places like the Internal Affairs Unit, you see? And there's a whole directorate there. There's an entire well-staffed directorate. There's an entirely well-staffed IPOA, you see? And then we start, we make these reports so that our conversation concerning the protection of journalists as lawyers and even as Kenyans is now about these systems in place. Are they functional? You see, is IPOA doing this for us? Because, for instance, TV47 sent a complaint concerning person X, and of course you'll publish it, you know, you'll publish it, and then we look at the turnaround time from the IPOA. We look at the turnaround time from these IAU, Internal Affairs Unit, because there's an entire superstructure that exists to govern police behavior in this republic, you see? And it's just a bit sad that when this happens, we're looking at conversations all over the internet, all over mass media that do not bring to task the director of the Internal Affairs of Police. We're talking to spokespeople, we're not talking to the director of Internal Affairs. We're talking to other people who are not really from IPOA. And so these are the people, and they are people and their faces. We are not talking about the commanders who are in charge of these platoons that are moving around shooting people recklessly. We need to start putting faces to the responsibility that is required.
All right, Akelo Daniel, I don't know if you can hear me now. So, yes. Good. So I'll just ask you the same question that got us here. Do you really think that we are independent right now as media in terms of our editorial policies according to the Constitution of Kenya 2010?
No, I don't think so. But good evening first. And, you know, thank you for having me again. The last time I was here, I thought when I'm back, probably things will have changed. Probably we'll be reporting on the progress of the media independence. But it's such a, you know, it's so disappointing to see that we're still addressing the same things, even worse. I mean, everything just keeps deteriorating. Editorial independence in Kenya, really, I don't think we are progressing. In fact, I would say that that's where our, what is the opposite of lack of independence starts? Because we have first, when we have all these attacks on journalists, the first thing that journalists will think of doing is self-censorship. So when you know that probably your person or your media house or whatever you're covering will cause an attack or will cause a backlash out there and people will start, you know, you'll be targeted, then you want to go slow on what you're writing. And especially when people who report on security and corruption issues, you report that and then you hear, oh, you need to be responsible as the media, you need to do this and this, or you're not supposed to cover this. And so you start questioning if what you are putting out there is, if you'll be able to stay in your job, but still cover these things, you know, efficiently, wholesome. So you start censoring yourself. There's also political interference where we're always having subtle threats. The threats have never been, sometimes they're direct and we can give it to this government. They sometimes just attack the media directly. But sometimes it's very subtle and it is such that they're going to withhold something if you do not do as they wish. For example, the introduction of, you know, we are taking measures, we are just cutting on the cost and what, and so they introduce the government advertising agency, and then they cut on advertising and they delay pay even when they give you the advertisement. So it's just another way of, you know, cutting down on your independence. So you're careful on what you report, because they subtly say that they're going to withhold something if you kept, you know, going. So because of the economic pressure that the medias have been facing during this time, you find that media houses will themselves be careful on what they want to report, and there are places where now the corporates that bring revenue to the media houses will determine even the content that you want to write. Because I know of some media houses who stopped completely a publication or a column because a corporate that was giving them advertisements stopped because of another story that they did that was against the policies of that organization. So you see, there's so many things, and sometimes there's even legal threats that will tell you that, oh, if you don't do this, if you do not abide by this, we're going to do this and this and that. And so the editorial independence of the media, really, we cannot say it's improving at all.
All right. Thank you so much, Akelo Daniel, for those insights. Now, there's a video I want us to take a look at. That is President William Ruto while speaking today in Bomet on how we, the media, should be reporting. Can we have it, Simon?
I also want to request the media to report responsibly. Reporting, celebrating, encouraging violence, destruction of property, anarchy, mayhem is irresponsible. And if the country goes the wrong direction, there will be nothing to report, and there will be nowhere to report from. So we must all act responsibly.
All right, Winnie. And Wasong and of course Akelo, that was President William Ruto today while speaking in Bomet County. Now, what have you gotten from that speech, that reporting on such things, encouraging violence, mayhem? What's your take on what President William Ruto just said today in Bomet?
Let me not be blunt and they come after me, but I feel like the president is missing the point, and even the government, this government is missing the point, really. When they say reporting responsibly, what does that mean? Does that mean that reporting responsibly is just reporting about them only, and then we just shun the rest of the people? The other day we had an opinion coming out. One of the reporters had gone to the ground and they were asking, what should journalists do? And they were specifically speaking about the Kware situation. And I'm like, they were flecking the journalists, like, media, you guys, you need to report the right numbers. Don't go, and these are people in Kware, yeah? They're saying, don't go misreporting. Don't tell us there are 11 people, yet we know, us guys, we've been there, we've been removing bodies, and we saw more than 11 people. Don't tell us numbers that are fictitious. And you see, these numbers are coming from the pressure of government, just like what Akelo just mentioned about. And what is responsible reporting? Should we turn a blind eye when the truth is just there? And one thing we have to realize right now, the boat has already sailed. We are no longer, just like Wakili said, it has evolved. Even if we do not report ourselves, the legacy media does not report these things, the social media will not stop reporting. So what does that tell you? That these things are not the same. Citizen journalism is waking up and telling us the truth. So where do you want us to hide us? To hide all the dirt that is there? Which carpet? The carpet now is over full. It's too much. I mean, it's flooded with a lot of dirt. So where are we hiding the dirt anymore? What is responsible reporting?
Right.
Yeah?
All right, Akelo, what is responsible reporting from your own point of view?
I just wanted to weigh in on the same, because I'm wondering, you see, that's a classic example of veiled hint of political interference.
True.
Akelo?
She just froze on a very nice point. It's true, that's political interference, because what else do they expect us to do? Do we go reporting, the clouds are blue, today the clouds are green, wow, look at the beautiful flowers, yet the country in itself is under a big mess. Right. We are under so much, I mean, I go to the shop, he goes to the shop, maybe he doesn't go to the shop. My neighbor, the person whom I'm talking to, Mama Mboga, goes to the shop, and they go and shop, and they come out with nothing. It's not right.
All right, Akelo, you were saying a very important something right there before you went mute.
Okay, I froze. I didn't even know. Sorry. So what I was saying is that a very classical example of what I call veiled, veiled hints at you need to go slow, because when we have things do not upset the power, then they do not remind us that we need to report responsibly. It's only when we are reporting on things that they really don't want out, so they want cover that we need to be responsible in our coverage. But what is access to information? Is that guaranteed in the Constitution? Is that journalists their work? Is there a part where now you're to, or to this end you shouldn't, or this end?
All right. Let's hear from our song, of course. When the president says that the media, we should report responsibly, that when we are talking about these things, we are encouraging violence and mayhem. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's a very simple question to answer. Firstly, because the president was speaking in an official capacity as a symbol of national unity. So when I hear the word responsible, I look at Article 10 of the Constitution on good governance. You see? So that is responsible. I don't see lying in there. So if speaking the truth is responsible
to power, do you think the media, we are not reporting or saying things as they are?
I think the media is doing a pretty good job.
That.
But what I think we need to understand is we need to stay on ball. You see, because when our president starts speaking of you need to speak responsibly, we're not going to have a country tomorrow if you say these things, this or that. Well, the truth of the matter is 75% of this population is going to see tomorrow. Maybe not him. If we all live in our own natural way. You see, 75% of this country's population is under the age of 35. You see, so when we start speaking of responsibility and we understand it via the lens of the 2010 Constitution, responsibility means speaking the truth, not to power, speaking the truth, presenting facts as is. You see, and possibly just to say something a little more. As someone who has a brief understanding of constitutionalism in this country, you will note that constitutionalism has, all the milestones constitutionalism has achieved in this country have been as a result of a war of attrition. You see, this is not something that is going to be done in a day. You see, but then right now, when we are told, when the media is told to report responsibly, please open that constitution, determine what is responsible, and please do it. Because at the end of the day, you, the media, are creating an institutional culture. And if that institutional culture will be one where you're told to act responsibly and you self-censor, then that is unconstitutional in of itself.
Exactly.
You see, but then I need everyone, we all need to understand that it's a war of attrition. You see, it's who's going to blink first. Yeah.
All right, now let's take a look at some demographics, and this is a report by the World Press Freedom Index 2023 overview. Kenya is ranked position 101 out of 180 countries. The very first position we have Norway, second Finland, we have Sweden in the third position, and regionally comparison, that is in East Africa. Of course, Kenya, we are number one in 101 position. And that comparison breakdown in what these numbers are saying, what the World Press Freedom Index 2023 overview is saying, is that the challenges that Kenya is facing as threats to journalists, government interference and legal challenges. And if we compare that now to number one, that is in Norway, Norway has strong legal protections. They do have minimal government interference and high level of safety for journalists. Wesonga. Now, what is really the problem with Kenya? Why can't we try and be number one in the strong legal protections, minimal government interference, and high levels of safety for journalists?
At the risk of being the devil's advocate, I would instantly say that on paper, we have very strong legal protections for the media, you see. However, let's be alive to the fact that in terms of a constitution, we are 10 years old. For us to compare ourselves to the Norwegians, these people existed as a nation 1,000 years ago. They had print media by 900 years ago. So the problems we are facing right now at 10 years, we're doing so well. And I'm sounding like a devil's advocate. I know I'm speaking for people who should not be spoken for, quote unquote. But then we have the protections. All we need to do is to start exercising these muscles, exercising these constitutional muscles. You see, for example, when someone is shot by the police, we know that there is a commander who is in charge, that one. We know that the internal affairs unit can take a complaint. We know that IPOA can take let's start there and then see if they fail to turn it around as quickly as we'd like to, then we have this conversation with the parliamentarians and say this, that, or those.
Hold it right there, Wasonga. There's a clip that I want us to take a look at by Kuria, that is the then Trade Cabinet Secretary, Simon.
Na nimaliza nyinyi watu wa media kusema Nation Media muamue kama nyinyi ni gazeti ama broadcasting house ama media house ama ni chama cha upinzani. Na mimi nimesema kutoka kesho, kutoka leo hata sio kesho, idara yote ya serikali nitaona imeweka advertisement kwa Nation Media, ujihesabu kwa nyumbani. Naitwa Mradhimi na
All right, that was Moses Kuria on the 18th of June 2023. That threat was issued to the Nation Media Group back then. But you see, in these rankings by the World Press Freedom, Kenya, whatever they're saying is that we are facing challenges even in our media independence, pressure, and economic constraints. We also have an issue with an access to information, despite these laws existing that should really just govern us and protect us. So would you say, Winnie, that these threats on the media are deliberate?
Threats on the media are really just there on our faces. And from Moses Kuria utterances, we saw what happened after. We saw the government advertising agency now being moved, and one media house was selected from, I don't know where. There was some tenders that were floated, and one media house was just given a tender to be able to publish all government opportunities. And that one now crippled what we're talking, like Protocol was talking about, political interference coming in as economical interference. Because from there on, the legacy media houses, Nation Media House now went from, you can imagine the amount of money each month, each media house was getting was almost 14 million. Every year, every media house was getting almost 14 to 12 million.
In USD or Kenyan?
No, Kenyan shillings. I know that's little money, but that's what they were getting. And you can imagine that small amount of money was withdrawn because of such utterances.
Winnie, is that data correct?
Yes.
It is?
Check.
All right. Akelo, let's just bring you in now to also get your opinion on what we've just heard from Moses Kuria. That is what, this was last year when he was the trade CS. Do you think these attacks on the media are deliberate, Akelo?
Yes, obviously. I mean, some of these threats just very direct, like Moses Kuria's statements are very direct. He just says it, you know, whatever he says, the way he says it is so direct, and it's, you know, some of those threats, like I say, some of them are veiled, some of these things, if these threats were not direct, we would not be seeing, you know, say, like the regulatory bodies enforcing things shouldn't even be enforced at the time when they do. Or should not be seeing a journalist being shot at. Because if you're shooting at me when I'm covering or doing things directly to me, you're trying to stop me from doing it. It's definitely direct. And even social media campaign, we do that when you start trending or media is trending, and they have all these campaigns, information, whatever, coordinated to discredit you or discredit the media house, or just, you know, or on how to report or whatever they want to touch on. So these threats, I would say, are very direct. I think that's why also our approach is
Akelo, thank you so much. We are struggling here, right here in studio, to get you clearly, but we can really hear where you're coming from. Thank you so much for being here as we wind up. I'll just get to Wasonga's opinion from what from Moses Kuria's sentiments that is clearly a threat to also that media house that was talking about right there. What's your take on that?
I think that with the benefit of a social scientist, that is what they call lawyers, with the benefit of a social scientist's education, I'd say this: we need to understand the psychology behind some of this impunity. We need to understand the psychology behind those statements. You see, we need to understand the psychology behind the reckless shooting of journalists, and it's the same. So just off the top of my head, I think there's been an experiment on this. It's called Milgram's experiment. It was done in the 50s, and it showed that people are more likely to be cruel to others when they feel, one, they have the authority, and two, there are no repercussions. Now, constitutionally, you see, the Constitution exists to defy these two things. First of all, people can be held accountable for their actions. These police officers can be held accountable. And do you know that the IPOA and the Internal Affairs, no, just IPOA. IPOA is a quasi-judicial body. They have the authority to give instruction to the Inspector General on the quantum of damages, the amount of money that should be paid to people who are hurt by the police. You see?
Wasonga, the question was about Kuria's video on the threat
exactly.
to the Nation Media Group.
The point sustains that people such as him and others tend to act in some kind of way because, first of all, there is no concept of consequences, and secondly, there is some form of authorization. As a constitutional lawyer, from where I sit, I believe it is time for us as Kenyans, for you as the Fourth Estate, to actually hold on to these principles of constitutionality and ensure that the current structures that are available to hold people personally accountable for those actions, because there's an actual system to deal with that, and to isolate them.
How does that look like? Because I'm just trying to understand. If Moses Kuria says these things, and you clearly see after he's made such statements, the people, the whole government, the wheels of government start moving and rolling to his ways and to his will.
Right.
And in no time, we have no money. So how do we help ourselves?
This will never end. This will never end. This conflict between the Fourth Estate and government, this is life.
Good. That brings me now to the final point. Of course, as we wind up, there needs to be a solution. Clearly, we cannot sit and say this will never end. There has to be something that really needs to be done to just bring harmony between the government and the Fourth Estate. So we need, as we wind up, this is your closing remark as well as Wasonga. So what recommendations do you have in terms of improving media freedom in Kenya?
I think for us to be able to work together, and that when I say, if it's something that will ever happen, I guess we need to just respect each other. Allow people to work, allow people to do their work, and allow people to be free. Like now, we're gonna have demonstrations on Wednesday for all the media fraternity, and I'm calling out to all journalists and to all citizen journalists who are of goodwill wherever you are, even just Gen Zs. If you can join us on Wednesday, we're going to be protesting against some of this infringement of media freedom, because we want our voices to be heard, and not only our voices to be heard, but also allow us, and we're telling government, allow us to do our job. Don't tell us report responsibly. If we report untruthful or unfactual things, then come and tell us. But if we report the truth, please, then it's something has to change. If it's you changing, then change. Because at the end of the day, we're serving not ourselves, we're serving the public interest. Right. The mama mbogas that you pandered on.
All right, Vasonga, now as your final remark, with all is said and done, right? So what recommendations do you have for us, for media freedom really to just be upheld?
Systems exist. As we speak, people are drawing salaries for that. That being said, it is important for us Kenyans to start interacting with the police from a point of knowledge. You see, I challenge the fourth estate to be at the forefront of identifying the specifics of holding the police to account for their actions.
Does that mean having legal suits and taking them to court?
Right, this conversation clearly will not end right here, as we are also just looking forward to one day having harmony in this conversation. And the take home for me tonight is that despite there's a government constitutional prospects that are in place to really just protect the media, there are instances of government interference that something needs to be done, really.
But stay strong, but no attrition.
Thank you so much, Winnie and Wasonga, and of course Akelo, for joining us and for making time for this really crucial conversation tonight. Thank you so much for watching from wherever you were watching from. That's it. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Odida. Do have yourself a good night and see you next time.